Chapter 11 begins with Pip uncovering shocking truths about Magwitch's past and preparing for a daring escape. My left arm was burned all the way to the shoulder. My right arm was not as bad. Herbert helped me change the bandages. Last night, Magwitch told me that he had been married, he said as he wrapped a clean bandage around my arm. His wife was jealous. They say she murdered a woman. How? When? I asked, excited. Jaggers took the case, replied Herbert. No one saw the crime. She didn't have to go to jail. She and Magwitch had a child who was about your age when he met you in the churchyard. You reminded him of his lost child. That is one of the reasons why Magwitch helped you all these years. I felt feverish. My breath came in short gasps. Herbert, I said, I think the man we are hiding is Estella's father. I went to see Jaggers the next day. I had to know the truth. Miss Havisham told me you brought her a child, I said. She never knew who the mother was, but I do. I saw Estella's mother in these rooms just 2 days ago. Mr. Jaggers said nothing. He was looking at the toes of his boots. Really? He said finally. I told him Magwitch's and Miss Havisham's stories. Pip, he said at last, there are thousands of poor children living in the street. I thought if I could just save one life, it would be performing a miracle. This child was the one I decided to save. Her father was in and out of jail. Her mother was accused of a crime. I cleared the woman's name, and she gave me the child. I found the little girl a home. I gave the woman a job. The secret was mine alone. Now it is yours as well. At last, I knew the truth. Monday morning, I awoke with a fever. My left arm was swollen and very red. The pain was great. I could not stand to have anyone touch it. I slept for 2 days. Herbert changed my bandages every few hours. He gave me cooling drinks. We both knew I had to be well enough to board the steamer out of England with Magwitch on Wednesday. Our friend Startop had agreed to help row the boat out to the steamer. On Wednesday, the sun shone hot and the wind blew cold. It was March. I wore a heavy coat and carried one bag. My left arm was in a sling. We rowed downstream to Mill Pond Bank. Magwitch was waiting for us. He quickly jumped into the boat. Dear boy, he said, putting his arm on my shoulder. Faithful dear boy, well done. Thank ye. Thank ye. Herbert and Startop rowed and rowed until the sun went down. We needed to be far down the river to catch the steamer. What freedom, cried Magwitch. How grand it is to sit next to my dear boy and have a smoke. The four walls were making me sick. If all goes well, I said, you will be free and safe in just a few hours. Soon night fell. The moon was full. We waited in the boat, shivering. It was 1:30 when we finally saw the smoke of the steamer. Magwitch and I got our bags. I said a tearful goodbye to Herbert. We waited for the steamer to get closer. We would call for the captain to let us aboard. Suddenly, another boat shot out from the bank. It had been waiting in the shadows. There were 3 men on board. One of them was a policeman. He stood up and shouted, "You have an escaped convict in your boat. His name is Abel Magwitch. Arrest that man." The boat crashed right into ours. Compeyson stood on the deck of the other boat, and the steamer was still moving toward us. Magwitch jumped at Compeyson, and the pair fell overboard into the river. They struggled for a moment, and then they both went underwater. We scanned the river for a sign of either man. At last, I spied a man swimming. It was Magwitch. The policeman grabbed him and hauled him into the boat. Chains were quickly locked to his wrists and ankles. He was captured. Magwitch was badly hurt. A broken rib had injured one of his lungs, and he had a deep cut on his head. Compeyson was dead. He had drowned. I went with Magwitch to the prison in London. It was my place to stay by his side. I did not fear or hate him anymore. He had been generous and loving to me through many years. He was better to me than I had been to Joe. In prison, Magwitch grew very ill. I visited him every day. Though his face was pale, his eyes lit up whenever I entered his cell. He could only whisper his fears and regrets. He was always so tired. The court found Magwitch guilty of murder. The police didn't believe that Compeyson had drowned accidentally. Magwitch would remain in jail for the rest of his life. He grew sicker, and I knew the end was near. "Pip," he said as I sat down by his bed one morning, "are you always the first visitor through the prison gate?" "Yes," I said. "I don't want to lose a minute of time." "Thank you, dear boy." "Thank you," he replied. "God bless you." "You've never deserted me, dear boy." I pressed his hand. "Are you in much pain today?" I asked. "Don't worry, dear boy," he said, and fell against the pillow. He was too weak to speak another word. The guard made a noise outside the cell. My visiting time was over. "Dear Magwitch, can you understand what I'm saying?" I asked. His pale eyes stared at the ceiling. He pressed my hand. "You had a child once. You loved her but lost her," I said. He pressed my hand even harder. "She is living now. She is a beautiful lady. And I love her," I blurted out. Magwitch raised my hand to his lips. He looked peacefully up at the ceiling. Then quietly, his head dropped onto his chest. It was over. I said a final goodbye to my dear Magwitch. In Chapter 11, Pip learns that Magwitch is Estella's father. After confronting Jaggers, Pip learns the full story of Magwitch's past and how he helped Estella. Pip, though injured, helps Magwitch escape, but they are caught by the police. Magwitch is captured, and Compeyson drowns. In prison, Magwitch falls ill, and Pip stays by his side until his death, revealing his love for Estella before Magwitch peacefully passes away. This chapter highlights redemption, love, and forgiveness as Pip stays loyal to Magwitch despite his past. Magwitch's selflessness and Pip's compassion show the healing power of loyalty, while the tragic outcomes remind us of the weight of choices and the possibility of transformation through love. This is the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.